Now at 11. Millions of Americans are bracing tonight for a break in critical food benefits as the government shutdown drags on. Tonight we'll take a closer look at how Hoosiers are ramping up efforts to help.
It's an annual remembrance for victims of domestic violence. Tonight, we're hearing from the family of one mother who was killed last year in a domestic violence dispute.
It's been a soggy evening, but I'm timing the rain when it moves out of central Indiana in your forecast.
We are just 100 days away from the beginning of the Winter Olympics in Italy, and tonight I'm taking you back to the host country. It's home to the most famous paintings and sculptures in the world. I want to introduce you to a dedicated group of people who have preservation down to an art. Live from Indy, you're watching 13 News. And we are keeping a close eye on radar tonight because we want to begin with this weather impact. As you see, we've got rain moving through central Indiana, a soggy conclusion to this Wednesday evening. Thanks for inviting us in. It's now 11 o'clock. So, Angela, is this going to be sticking around for folks in the morning?
Yes, for some, it's going to be a wet and windy morning drive. That could slow us down tomorrow morning, so be thinking maybe a few extra minutes out the door tomorrow morning earlier than you usually leave. This is radar showing you the movement of some of the heavier rain that's been across the eastern part of the state. It continues to pivot back to the west. Give you a couple of closer views. We've got rain all across Marion County. Some of the heavier rain east along I-70 from Greenfield to Newcastle into Richmond, south to Connorsville and Rushville, the rest of Rush County. And we go south and pick up Hope, Greensburg and Columbus, south to North Vernon. We will be dealing with rain during the overnight hours, as you can see with Future Track 13. Right on through early tomorrow morning, could be dealing with another steadier wave of rain for that morning drive. So don't forget the umbrella. It's going to be another cool day tomorrow afternoon. Highs only in the 50s.
All right. Thanks so much, Angela. So this government shutdown that we've been talking so much about is now the second longest in U.S. history. So if there's no end to this thing by the end of October, this is going to mean a pause on critical funding for millions of families across America, benefits that they rely on to feed their families. In fact, here in Indiana, 600,000 people live in our state. Tonight, our Logan Gay is looking into this growing effort by Hoosiers to feed Hoosiers.
Local organizations like the Indianapolis Office of Public Health and Safety and Indy Peace are used to filling in the gaps in underserved communities facing food insecurities with free meal events like this one.
We try to have a variety of meats, fruits, vegetables, protein. We don't want to just give people anything, but rather a balanced meal.
Now they've got even more to consider in November if the government shutdown continues.
The Indy Peace team is thinking about how SNAP benefits may affect our communities. Communities that are already underserved, communities that already have issues, how something like this may trigger more issues.
To help, they have a full schedule of food giveaways all November. Jeff Davis picked up a bag on Wednesday for his family. He hopes this opportunity will be food for the stomach and the soul for Hoosiers facing uncertainty.
You got to help each other, you know. So and you feel like it's important because you feel like somebody cares. You know somebody cares about you.
Pastor Kenneth Sullivan with New Direction Baptist Church says he and his members are also doing their part to help Hoosiers impacted by the SNAP pause.
You have a lot of people who use these benefits to make a difference and subsidize their income.
They've started a Stock the Shelves campaign to collect as much food as possible. Plus, they're partnering with Gleaners Food Bank and Indy Fresh Market to pass out gift cards. They're doing all of this every Sunday in November after their 11:30 a.m. service. Sullivan believes this is an opportunity for the community to show faith in action.
This is something that takes all of us. We're a city, we're a community, and so we all have to show some love and really step up and lean in.
Now we're going to provide all this information about where you can drop off donations and pick up food from New Direction. Just go to WTHR.com. We'll have it all there for you tonight. Well, tonight, one Indiana lawmaker is pushing for the state to step in until something changes in Washington. Democratic State Representative Greg Porter calls the impending loss of SNAP benefits a crisis. Today, he urged fellow state lawmakers on the State Budget Committee for support before taking his plan to the Indiana governor. Here's how he says this would work. Under Porter's proposal, the state would give $122 million to cover SNAP benefits for Hoosiers and another $10 million to food banks. He's proposed using money from our state's $2.5 billion surplus from the last budget, or taking some of the $300 million set aside to cover shortfalls at certain state agencies. Now, Republicans on this particular committee voiced concerns about how that money would get to people and voted not to consider the proposal at the meeting. Porter says something's got to be done.
There is a way to do it. From my perspective, we're in a crisis situation. We have Hoosiers that are hurting, and we need to think outside the box, not stick to their own little way of doing things, and be creative.
Porter says he is still planning to take his proposal to Indiana Governor Mike Braun. Well, we're getting some new clarity tonight on the timeline for the upcoming special legislative session. State lawmakers right now are poised to consider redrawing Indiana's congressional map. But now the Indiana House Speaker and Senate leaders say work will not start on Monday. In fact, it may not even start next week at all. Governor Braun announced earlier this week the session would convene November 3rd. Lawmakers are expected to tackle redistricting and tax reforms. So for a little bit of context, in the last special session back in 2022, the legislature did not meet for a few weeks after the initial date announced by the governor. Listen to this statistic. 83 people died from domestic violence last year. That is a rising number according to the Indiana Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Tonight, our Alex Almanza attended a remembrance ceremony for those victims where one family shared their daughter's story.
Last year, Amber Morgan lost her life to domestic violence, just 6 weeks after giving birth to her first child. Now her parents are speaking up, saying they're raising awareness and hoping other parents don't have to go through the same thing.
I mean, she was all about love.
In a world without their daughter,
Just to have this button means a lot to me.
photos like this are kept close to their hearts. For parents Starla Hart and Corey Morgan, it's one of the most cherished memories of their daughter Amber, who leaves behind her community, the kindergarten students she taught, and her baby Audrey.
You know, every day is a new day. You know, we try to move forward in a positive way and just love on Audrey as much as we can to help heal.
On Wednesday, Amber's story is part of a bigger discussion on domestic violence in our city.
It's about 1 in 3 Hoosiers in Indiana are experiencing domestic violence, but in reality that statistic is even higher due to underreporting of domestic violence.
In this room, a moment of silence followed by teardrops, candles representing the dozens of people whose deaths were at the hands of people they once trusted. A mother's message echoed to people who may be suffering in silence.
Amber's love and light live on through all of us who are blessed to know her and through the legacy she leaves behind in such a short time she spent on earth. Through her students, through her family, friends, and most of all, through Audrey.
Amber's parents are here because she's not. They say while events like this may not bring closure, it brings awareness.
In our case, Amber asked about divorce the day before she was murdered. She planned to leave, and before she could, it only took one act of violence to end her life forever and change the future for everyone who loved her. One act. That's all it took.
While her parents can't change what happened to Amber, by sharing her story, they hope to change what happens next for someone else. In Indianapolis, Alex Almanza, 13 News.
Here's a look at the other stories making headlines right now. Tonight, a man is under arrest accused in a deadly shooting on the near northwest side of Indy. This happened late last night near 34th and Harding. Investigators say officers found the victim, 26-year-old Ashley Sanders, inside of a home. The 38-year-old suspect tonight is facing a preliminary murder charge. A nurse practitioner in Carmel tonight is facing 31 criminal charges. This follows an 8-month investigation into fraudulent prescriptions. Prosecutors filed 31 counts against 34-year-old Catherine Curtis, including dealing in a controlled substance and drug possession. Police are telling us several pharmacies reported Curtis for overprescribing patients and writing fake prescriptions. Now to demolition on the near north side of Indianapolis. Fire yesterday started in a vacant home, then spread to 2 neighboring houses near 29th and Delaware. This morning, we found crews tearing down the vacant house. The fire forced 2 families out of their homes. Thankfully, no one was hurt. Tonight, more than 70,000 FFA members are here in Indianapolis for the organization's annual convention. Students representing all 50 states are here in Indy for 4 days of agriculture education. Tomorrow, Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins is scheduled to speak. The event wraps up on Saturday, but it's coming back. Organizers say Indianapolis will host the convention and expo through 2040. Remember, you can find all of our latest local stories anytime on our 13 News app. The Indiana Pacers wrap up a road trip looking for their first win of this young season. I've got all the action from Dallas and the Blue and Gold's matchup with the Mavericks. That's coming up.
From showers to sunshine, but still cool, I'll have your Thursday forecast.
The countdown to the Winter Olympics in Italy now is 100 days away, and tonight we're painting a true picture of the Olympic host country. We're taking you to Florence and showing you how a group of Americans is tackling an Olympic-sized task preserving centuries-old works of art. Next.